Alright, my co-host, Tokyo Gaijin Ride, Volume 2. This is new series of Gou Senpai TV and I invite a foreign guest each time. And today, I have special guests from very cold country. Okay, come on. Hey, Alex. Alexandra さんです。Tokyo Gaijin Ride. Let's go.
よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
Oh.
So they always say in anime, right?
Yeah.
So one of those Japanese things that you don't really need to know because they're very like anime speech and it's not how real people talk, but
So, like a lot of weeaboo people, otaku people make mistakes. Common mistake. They learn from anime. They learn Japanese from anime.
yeah.
やってやるぜ!
Yeah, that kind of like really extreme way of speaking, right? That no one really speaks unless you're like maybe a Yakuza or a Yankee, but you know, it's at least it's something. But it's a start.
Yeah.
It's just don't stop there, guys. There is more Japanese to learn after that.
俺様に勝てると思うなよみたいな。
Yeah, right? Things like 俺様, 貴様とか there's like, yeah, not the most useful phrases, but...
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so my name is Alex. I am Russian, but I've been living in Japan for 3.5 years now, and then before that I lived in the UK, and then before that I lived in Spain, so not very Russian anymore, honestly.
What made you to come to Japan?
So I came to study here, so when I came here I entered the master's program in Sofia University.
The same as Nick?
Yes, that's where I met Nick actually. But I guess like I always wanted to come to Japan since I was a kid, and then this is something that all foreigners in Japan say probably that like, you know, I was a kid, I started watching anime, fell in love with Japan, wanted to come, and you know, here I am.
Did you make any preparation to come to Japan?
I wish I did.
Oh, you didn't?
So when I was like still a kid, I studied Japanese for a year. Obviously not much, and then I obviously forgot everything because after that I moved to Spain, after that I moved to England. I was really like way too busy to think about anything Japanese. And then before moving here I did have like a katekyoshi for Japanese.
Oh, okay.
But I mostly just studied also for fun, not with any particular purpose in mind, or not even thinking that I'm gonna go to Japan really. Just kind of like, oh, I like Japanese, I like learning languages, so why not? And at some point, it just, my katekyoshi told me like, hey, do you know that you can actually go to Japan and study in English? So maybe if you're really so much into Japan, then, you know, you could try that. And I was like, interesting idea.
Yeah.
And I guess like I'm not losing anything if I just try applying. So I applied, but I was like, well, I don't really speak Japanese. I never really had, you know, a lot of people that come here, or a lot of Russians that I know come here because they studied like Eastern cultures or something like that in the university. So it makes sense for them to just come here and continue their research. But nothing I did in life before was like academically related to Japan. So I had no basis basically to come here. But yeah, somehow I got into the university, and then I came here, and then I properly studied Japanese after.
日本語の曲で好きな曲ってある？
もうやっぱり何かアニメの
曲
だよね。
Can you play Alex's favorite Japanese song? Here we go.
It's not in the beginning.
これ？
これなんかめちゃくちゃ伝統的な日本の雰囲気。すすり泣き。ご覧喜びのもんじゃない逆さまにほころぶぞ I don't really know what they're saying actually.
これ渋いね。いや、アレックスちょっとなんかやっぱアレックスの趣味が分かってきた。デスノートとこれね。やっぱちょっとダークだわ。
I watched your YouTube. You with Robert Campbell.
Oh yes,
And
yes,
you
yes,
guys
that
talked
was,
about Genji Monogatari or something, right?
Yes.
And like, you know, I tell you the truth that like more than 99% of Japanese people
Did not.
never read Genji Monogatari.
Yeah, and they never talk about it either.
Never talk about it. And
Yes.
in fact, we cannot read. It's like different type of Japanese.
Well, I mean, I did not read it in the original Japanese.
Yeah.
Or I read it in an English translation, as said. So
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that Mr. Campbell read it in like the original Japanese.
I mean, the original version, it's not Japanese. It's like
Oh yeah, it's like very, very hard to understand, and even when it is translated, it's kind of hard to understand, and it doesn't really have the structure the way that we in the modern days think of a story. You know, so it's just very kind of random bits and pieces of text, and you're like, what's going on here? I'm not sure.
yeah.
But it feels a little bit similar to reading Shakespeare, though, because when you read him in the original English, it's like, what? I have no idea what's going on.
Do people tell you, oh, 日本語うまいですね?
Yes,
Oh,
yes. All the time.
That's a
I'm like,
compliment. What do you think about it?
I mean, it's
annoying or
no, it's not annoying. Well, I guess it depends on the situation. Like if you're in a situation where you're obviously speaking, like you have a business meeting with some other company, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, your English or your Japanese is good. And you're like, well, I'm working at a Japanese company, and then they wouldn't really employ me if I couldn't speak Japanese. But I know that very often that comes from like a good place, and especially like an oba-san on the street or like a tenyin-san.
it's communicating.
I'm sure that they're just happy that you speak Japanese or to some degree. And also I know that very often it's not true. Especially when you just move to when you just move to Japan, like no, obviously it's not good, but they're like, well, you're trying, it's nice, and then it makes you feel good, and I mean, why not give people compliments?
And another point, like Japanese people are not used to for foreign people to speak our language.
Yes, very often I think whenever I go to anywhere, restaurant, shop, anywhere, and then I come in and they look very tense. They're like, oh no. And then once I speak to them in Japanese, they're like very anshin. Okay, we don't have to try and speak English or something.
Last year, I think we met 1 year ago, and you told me the very special thing, and that made me so surprised.
Here we go.
Your
Blushing.
dream. Yeah. You said you wanted Akutagawa Prize or the Nobel Prize. That's your dream.
Yes,
And
I did say that.
since then, has your dream changed, or it hasn't changed?
It hasn't changed.
Great.
It's I actually finished a novel since then. So
You wrote novel?
yes, I did write a novel.
Short one?
I mean, it's not like War and Peace, it doesn't have like 5 books. But it's a novel size, it's not like a short story.
Yeah, すごい.
Akutagawa show is probably more difficult for me to get than well, I don't want to sound like, but like Akutagawa show, you have to write it in Japanese, and my Japanese is not quite on that level, but I'm working on it. So.
しかもさ、今その外国人の作家でも芥川賞を取った人いるんでしょ？
そう最
あれ
近
知らなか
は
った。
結構トレンドっていうか、そういうことあったよね。They used to be very strict, but I think like roughly since like Murakami came in, because there's this thing called Junbungaku, so it's like the true literature, the high art kind of thing. Like kind of lots of very. I don't want to I'm not judging anyone, and I don't really know the details, but I know that there is this kind of this kind of strict rules about how a book is supposed to be.
Right.
And then when Murakami came in, lots of people were kind of like, "Wow, this is not Junbungaku. You know, this cannot be considered serious literature or
light novel.
Yeah." But it really shows that those boundaries are kind of being blurred and slightly maybe disappearing. So yeah, I think it's inevitable that Japan will kind of, or I don't want to say inevitable, but I think most countries end up slightly going towards that globalized.
Yeah, そうだね。まあ芥川賞はもうあれだもんね。人生の目標っていうかね。そんな1年2年で取れるものじゃないからね。
Yeah,
頑張ってほしい。
I'm very 頑張ってる on my Japanese right now.
Do you have any advice or recommendation for people who want to come to Japan after the pandemic?
Yes, definitely. One of my biggest advice is make sure you understand what you're doing. As in, you know, make sure you don't come here having that illusion that Japan is this like nice kawaii place where everyone is just like really cute and everyone just rides trains and looks at sakura, because that is not what it is at all. It's you know, think through what you're gonna do here. If you're going to university, what are you gonna do after university? Do realize what it means to work in Japan, because it probably is as bad as you heard.
Yeah.
So you know, just figure out, if you're still relatively young, then maybe, you know, think about what career choice would be the right one to come to Japan, because obviously some professions are way more in demand here than others. Also, of course, start learning Japanese as early as possible, because you will have to speak it anyways. Yes, like you should really expect that the communication is completely different here. And personally for me, a big thing was that people don't touch here. Like in Spain, you know, we meet people we don't know and we're like, and it's well, not now that it's COVID, but before that, or like, you know, I hug all my friends when I meet them, regardless of their gender.
日本は家族でもハグしないからね。
そうそうそう、それは初めて聞いた時に。
死ぬ前に一回するだけじゃない。Only once in a lifetime.
Yeah, so it's
ちょっと寂しいと思った。
本当に辛かった。
ああ、そうか。
お疲れ様です。
Okay, thanks, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, Alex has a YouTube channel with Nick.
Yes, we do. So for anyone who is interested in Japanese culture, Japanese society, how things work here in Japan, we do speak a lot of Japanese, but you know, it can also really help you with learning if you're
I'll put the link in description.
Thank you. はい。登録お願いします。
お願いします。じゃあ今度はちょっとピロ式を作ってください。
できないわ、そういうこと。
Alright, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Mottai ninja master, o chin chin feel so lonely. Hentai o shinjimashita, you wa nani shi ni roppongi. お父さんお母さん最強ヤクザないすみません